everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a hair dyeing video. I'm going to be doing a voiceover on how you can get this really pretty kind of rainbow pastel hair color today. I'm not going to be doing a super detailed video just because that would have taken a very long time to do, but I'm going to show you how I prep the wig, what colors I use, the conditioner I use to mix it in with, and I'm going to be showing you a little bit of the dyeing process. The wig that I'm using today is from a company on Amazon. It's Modot, I believe is how you pronounce it. I will leave a link in the description box, but this was a 613, 150 density and 20 inches. And here I'll put a picture of what it looked like when I got it. I didn't really film what it looked like out of the box. I completely forgot. I was just so excited to dye it that I completely forgot to do that. So I'll leave a picture right here. If that's something you'd be interested in, then stick along for the video. Maybe like, subscribe as well, and then we'll just go ahead and get on to the video. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the watercolor method on this wig, and I'm actually going to use the watercolor method with purple shampoo. This is so I can get the wig to be a more silver white color instead of the more bronzy yellow color that it is. So I'm just taking some warm water and some purple shampoo, and I'm mixing around in a Tupperware tub. Anything you use is fine as long as it's big enough to hold your wig. Some people use bowls too. And then I'm just going to place it in there gently, and I'm going to start pushing it into the water and slowly submerging it. And I'm just going to keep moving it around to make sure that that purple shampoo evenly disperses through the wig. That way there's no patches of purple. And I actually did this twice. I did it the first time for I think 3 minutes, and it didn't come out light enough for me, so I put it in for another 5, and it came out really well for what I wanted. It still has a little bit of a yellow undertone, but it's more of a silvery white color, and there's no purple patches with it, so it came out really even for the base that I'm going to dye it in. Okay, so for supplies, I have 2 big bottles of conditioner. I actually needed a 3rd one after this. I have all my different dyes. I have some makeup wipes. And I have a few different bowls for the hair dye, as well as some brushes to apply the hair dye. I have 2 different hair brushes. That way I can comb through the dyes and make sure everything goes through evenly. I have a ton of different clips. It really helps to section out the hair with clips, especially when you're working on a wig. If you're working on your own hair, you probably don't need as many. I have dye gloves to keep my hands clean. I have my Got2b Ultra Glued. And I have my bedhead hairspray. Okay, so here I am taking that Got2b gel, and I am just taking the end of my rat tail comb and I am spreading that all over the front of the lace. So that way it protects the lace and it makes sure that the dye doesn't seep through onto the lace and dyes the lace. If you don't wear wigs, you don't really have to worry about this part at all. Maybe you could put some along your hairline so that you don't get dye on your hairline. But other than that, this really isn't anything you need to worry about if you don't wear wigs. But if you do, this really helps. Saves a lot of time and it saves your lace. So I'm just going to keep going through, and I'm going to keep applying that until it is thick enough and every part of the lace is covered. So now that the lace is completely covered in that got-to-be glue, I let it sit for about a minute, and then I went in and I added my bedhead hairspray to help really hold that glue in and to make sure that any dye won't get through to the lace. And to make sure that all dries down, I'm going to take my hair dryer. This is the Conair hair dryer, and I put it on high power and it's on cool to make sure I don't damage the lace or the hair. And I'm just going to continue to blow dry that hair until the lace is completely dry. I don't want any tackiness. I want to make sure it is completely dry. Now that the got-to-be gel and the hairspray are dry, I've flipped the wig back over and pinned it down, and as you can tell, some of the hairs in the front are now sticky and tacky from that gel and that hairspray. So I'm just going to take my makeup wipe and I'm just going to take it and I'm going to take it over any of that hair that is now sticky and tacky and make sure all of that is gone before I dye it, so that way it doesn't miss any of the hairs when it's dyed. Now I'm going through and I'm going to start my first section of my wig. I want to start a small bottom section because I want the blue to hit where my shoulder is. So the first section is where all the blue is going to start. So right now I'm just really making that parting precise and making sure everything is level as I'm parting it out. Now that the first section is all evenly parted out, and the rest of the hair is tied in a nice little tight bun on the top of the wig, I'm going to start making even smaller sections. The reason I'm doing this is with wigs, they have these things called wefts, and it can kind of make it harder for you to evenly dye the roots of the hair. So I need to go in and I need to make smaller sections, that way I can properly dye each section in each weft. That way there are no patchy roots that don't have any dye on them throughout the wig. During the dyeing process, I would also recommend a lot of old towels underneath your wig stand, some little towels or paper towels for your hands to make sure that you keep them clean, an old t-shirt, and to keep your hair back because this can be a little messy. And here I am just showing the dyes I used. I will leave all the dyes and what I use them for in the description box down below. After I got my wig all prepped, I started mixing all my dyes. I didn't really think to film all of the dyes, I just did one, but you can kind of see how much conditioner I used versus how much dye I used. The only portions that were different was for the blue and for the purple. The blue ended up not being strong enough, so I added a little bit more dye to the blue at the end, just so it could actually show the color. And the purple, I ended up adding a little blue to it because it was coming out more of a pink color. But other than that, I used a lot of conditioner and not a lot of dye to get my pastel colors. And here's just a quick clip of how all those dyes came out. Again, the only one that changed really was the blue and the purple. I added more blue to each. Now starting with my dyeing process, I again want all the blue to start near my shoulder, so that whole section is going to start with this blue color, and I'm making sure to go under and over and anywhere in between where those wefts are to make sure the root is properly filled in. Now as I go down, I'm starting to blend that green in. And it depends on how much of color you want to show. I wanted a lot of blue, a good amount of green, and barely any yellow on the tip of the hair to show. If you want a little bit of blue, you can kind of keep it more towards the roots, and then you can have more green and yellow. It just kind of depends on the variety of color that you want. but I wanted a good amount of blue, so I blended a little bit past the roots. And then I started really getting the green color blended in with that blue to make sure that there was a really smooth transition from the blue to the green. So I even went in with my hands. I made sure to massage it in there, kind of blend with my fingers, and it came out really well in the first portion. And I will continue to do that all the way down this hair. Here's what the first section ended up looking like. Now I'm moving on to my next section, which will be purple, blue, green, and yellow. So now with the roots, they're going to now be purple instead of blue. That's really the only difference here. And again, I'm going to take it by little sections. That way I make sure I get in between each weft to make sure all the roots are purple. Okay, so this next section I actually did the next day, which is why I look different. I started this project right after work, so probably like 4:30, and I finished around 9 o'clock, and I was only halfway through and I was running out of conditioner, so I decided to rinse off what I had done that night, and then I would come back the next day and finish it. So I got more conditioner again after work, and then I started on the project again. So this section I'm starting with pink, and then it'll be purple, blue, green, and maybe yellow if I can fit it in the end. So again, it's the same process, it's just starting with a different color at the roots. I can say that this is a really long project, so if you're someone who likes to do a quick dye job and doesn't like to put a lot of time into this and doesn't like a tedious dye job, then this probably isn't for you. It probably took me 7 hours total. Now I can kind of understand why it takes so long for Brad to do his hair projects like he does, because he'll start his videos kind of early and then he'll say it's dark out and he just finished. I couldn't understand why, but I really do now. Some of these projects take forever. So if you don't like tedious or long projects, this really isn't for you. But I'm really happy with how the outcome came out, so it was worth it to me. Okay, so after I finished my dyeing process, I let it sit for the proper amount of time, and then I washed it, I let it dry overnight, and then I added some product to it to make the hair look healthy and shiny and soft. Now I'm just cutting off the excess lace so that the lace better blends to my skin when I glue it on. And some people like to leave out a good amount of lace. I really don't like to. I think it looks weird when I apply it because I think it's a lot more visible, but I also usually don't add baby hairs, so that might be why. And ears is always the most difficult part for me. I have a really small face, so I have to cut off a good amount of lace for it to go around my ears properly. I usually just cut straight back from the top of my ear, and then I'll cut around. And then I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side of my face. now that I have my lace cut out, I'm going to glue the wig down, and I'm going to use the same trick I usually use when I glue my wigs down. I'm going to keep the sides of the wig flat and tight to the side of my face by tying 2 of the strands of hair together with a ponytail and tightening it to my chin. That way the 2 flaps on the sides of the wig don't move while I glue the top of the wig down. And today I'm going to be using my Ghost Bond glue. This is usually the glue I use when I want my wigs to stay for a few days. If I just want one to last for a day or 2, I'll use my Got2b gel and my bedhead hairspray like I used on the wig when I was trying to protect the lace from dyeing it. It holds for a good day or 2, unless I'm sweating or the wig gets wet, then it usually doesn't last very long. But typically I use this glue because I like my wigs to last a few days, because I don't really like constantly changing wigs. It kind of messes with my scalp, it irritates my scalp, so I like my wigs to stay on for a few days. Once the glue dries, I'm going to make sure the lace fits perfectly over top of that glue line, and I'm going to press down to make sure it is secure to the glue. Then I'm going to do the same thing I did on the sides of the wig. I'm just going to apply the glue, spread it out, wait for it to dry, and then I'm going to, again, firmly press the lace over top of the glue, making sure it lines up perfectly with that glue. Alright guys, and that's it. This is the wig all dyed, dried, and installed. I'm really happy with how it came out. I think the color came out really even. I can see all of the colors I wanted to see on it, and I think it just looks really good. I'm gonna curl it, and then I'll be back with my final thoughts. Alright guys, so this is the hair finished. I went ahead and styled it, and I actually put on some decent looking clothes just to show you how this turned out. I'm really happy with how this turned out. The hair quality is pretty good. It does shed a little bit. I mean, it was not a super expensive wig, so I don't expect it to be perfect. I won't be wearing this wig all the time anyways, so I'm not too worried about shedding. If you do, plan to wear this kind of hairstyle a lot, then I wouldn't pick this specific wig. But for the project that I was doing, I'm really happy with it. It's a pretty good density, not a lot of shedding. Like, again, you will get a little shedding, not a lot of shedding. It takes a curl well, it dyed very well. I'm very happy with the wig. The link to it, again, will be in the description box. And this is it for me, guys. If you enjoyed it, maybe like, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!